But it does, like, speaking of the Brazil card, it does it perfectly segues us into the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is Jose Aldo returning from retirement to face Martinez, which will be on the same card on UFC 301. So obviously, like, I know how you feel about people going off into the sunset and then coming back. So before I get into what I think about Aldo's return in general and what the matchup's like and etc., how do you feel about Aldo's return and this matchup in particular? I guess you might as well get into it.
Yeah, like, I'm not a massive fan of it, but at the same time, and I posted this on Twitter the other day, and got a few responses. Like, it's a fight he can win, but I really want somebody during fight week to ask, what is his why? Like, why are you doing this? If it's a reason, like, you know, I really miss fighting, and, you know, it's really something that I've really structured my whole life around, and it's kind of what gets me up in the morning and gives me that drive. And success is getting to the fight and competing hard and being proud of myself. Okay, I can understand that. But if it's, no, I really think I can compete for a belt, it's like, dude, you are setting yourself up for failure. Not to say that he can't do it, because it's possible, but the likelihood is you couldn't do it years ago. So somehow you got better between then and now? Maybe, but I doubt it. What I do know is you got older from then to now. And I also know that you've been in fights, because I saw him. And so him coming against Jonathan Martinez, who is a heavy kicker, and Jose Aldo used to be a heavy kicker. He stopped doing it. He's going to take away that base, and that's going to be a problem, because Jose his game is flipped since he's been the featherweight champion to being somebody who relies almost solely on his hands to inflict punishment, and he doesn't throw with as much power, even though he still has it. I think it's not the best matchup for him, even though I do think that he can win this fight. And I'll be pulling for him to win it, but I saw what Jonathan Martinez did to Adrian Yanez, who's a great fighter, but a person that relies primarily on his hands. So the blueprint is already there because he just did it. So I don't know. I don't like it. But I do understand why the UFC wanted that to come, or wanted to put him on this card, because he's the king of Rio. So, I mean, it makes sense for them from a financial standpoint, but I don't like it. I'd rather see him against Dominic Cruz.
Oh, you know what? That's actually what it's very funny that you mentioned Dominic Cruz in particular, because that's where I was going to kind of lead to, because obviously I'm glad that Aldo's back, because it did feel like his first retirement was very premature in the first place. I think it was something that he'd spoken to about privately with Merab, and then Merab kind of preempted and announced it after he beat him. Because I think he was actually planning on retiring at the Sao Paulo card that was a couple of months later. And I think that would have been a more fitting exit for him. And what's interesting about what you just said is I think what he's doing now kind of sets that up, because I think his intention was to always retire in his home country. And I think that's what this is about. I don't think he's coming back to do, and I might be wrong in this, we'll find out when Fight Week takes place, but I think that's what this is about. I think he just wants to retire on better terms against an opponent that he feels like he can at least go out on a banger with. Because not only did he retire preemptively, but he basically got dry humped for 15 minutes and nothing happened. It was for a guy with his, you know, the things that he's achieved and the things that he's done, to go out like that was very deflating. And I don't think he's coming back to make a run. I don't think he's coming back to say, look, I'm going to make a title run or do anything like that. I think he's genuinely coming back to have that, this I'm the guy moment, and I'm doing it where I started and where I grew up. And I think it's more about that. I do think Martinez I am a little bit disappointed with the matchup in the same way that you are, because I do think Martinez is a very worthy challenger and a tough matchup. And the leg kicking thing, like I said, is something that, you know, Aldo doesn't do it as much now, but you know, he might go back to doing a little bit when he's getting stabbed away. And I think the ultimate thing that I get from this is UFC 301 needed this.
Yeah.
It needed Aldo to come back, because that card is horrendous. Like, it looks like a Fight Night card right now, and not a very good one. So to have the most decorated Brazilian fighter, MMA fighter of all time, to come back and be in that card, at least it boosts it locally. It might not have the, you know, it might not be, wow, it's going to bring 1 million buys. Of course it's not. But it certainly boosts the prestige of it locally. But it's, again, very funny to use the Dominic Cruz, because I would have rather seen him get into a legend fight against someone who's got an even better chance of winning against. Dominic Cruz was literally the only name that I came up with. You know, it was like that would have been
him against Dom as the co-main. I would put a co-main.
I'm all over that. I'd have been happy with that as a co-main. But I think
another thing that I would have thought about doing is moving the Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt fight to the co-main of this. I'd have moved that. As
good as it is, saying like, oh look, the opener of 300 is that. That would have instantly boosted 301, and it's only a month later. Again, all of this, we know that all of this comes from all the mess with 301. It comes from the UFC trying and failing to make 300 this, you know, marquee, never seen before thing, and then falling short. And not only falling short in what is a very good card, that is probably the best card on paper of all time, if we're being honest, but what they promised didn't quite deliver on it. And now we're seeing 301 as like the after effect of what's happened, because you focus so much time on energy on getting that card right, that you've basically fucked up the month before it and the month after it. And it was something that you touched upon when we talked about it to begin with. It was like, this is what we were worried about, you know? Them just losing sight of what's important, and that's having a consistently good product throughout the year.
It's I don't know, they just weren't, for a company that is primarily very, very good at being forward thinking when it comes to this. They just weren't. Until they've seriously diluted the product for a period of probably, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks out of the year. There's only 52, so 6 to 8 weeks out of the year, the product is, for some people, borderline unwatchable. You know, for diehards like us, of course we're gonna watch it. You know, whether we think the
it's still unwatchable, but we watch it.
I'm gonna watch it, but and talk about it, and you know, and stream about it, and do videos about it. But I'm not gonna do it with a smile on my face, because I know what I'm looking at, and so they did themselves a disservice, or as you would say, how you say it, they made a rod for their own back. Is that how you say it?
I love it. That's one of my favorite expressions.
Yeah, I like that one. But I mean, that's true. Like, this is exactly what they did. Like, they just set themselves up for failure when it comes to these things, and they did not have to do that. I mean, I don't know why they did it this way, but
it was definitely unintentional. Like, you know, I just think it was hubris to an extent, and like I don't know, we all saw it coming. They obviously didn't.
They did it to themselves too.
They 100% did. And like I said, the fans and the product is ultimately what's going to suffer. But you know, it's a massive organization. They will get through it. It's just, this could have been so much more if they planned it right. You know.